My name is JOJO WARINGA. I want to welcome you again here to this channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming through. The year is still young, so if you have not interacted in this year, I want to say Happy New Year. And for those of us who've been very supportive, sending comments and keeping it here, thank you so much. For the new viewers, during our last video, which you can find, you can search on my channel, you'll find it there. We talked about the stages of grief, and today we are here to talk about the grief itself and grief attacks. During my last video, I talked about the stages of grief, and I said that it takes every stage takes different time depending on the person and how close they were with whatever loss they have experienced. And today I want to bring us into attention that my grief journey has not been any different from what you're going through. I want to start by saying that grief is not a sickness. Grief is still an emotional roller coaster that one goes through. I can describe grief as a roller coaster. You know, the way that it comes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Today you are in your highest moods, tomorrow you are very down and lost. Today you're in a very better position, tomorrow you can barely find yourself or where you are at the time. So for me that is what grief has been like. I have had my ups and downs in different measures. I've had there came a time that when during the time of the funeral, everybody assumed that I was actually holding it together, but deep inside I was falling apart, and that is what they couldn't see. I want to say there are people who are fully able to show their emotions. I think the only emotions that I'm able to let out is when I'm extremely happy. That is the only emotion that is usually very pronounced in my life. Otherwise, if I'm sad, barely notice and you barely tell the difference that I'm sad or not. If unless you're very close to me. The time when everyone thought I was having it together, that was the time I was actually really falling apart. And people used to say, "You're so strong," and I'm like, "Oh, like what are you saying? Which strength are you seeing in me?" When everyone looked at me with the eyes of you've been a strong girl, you are a strong girl, I was just looking at them and wondering, like, who told you? Who gave you even the right to even use the word strong in the season I am in? This is not where strength is. This is where falling apart deep inside me is. And I couldn't explain because when people see something, that is what they see. And they don't see the you in it. People see a strong person, people see somebody standing there and somebody who has figured it out, somebody who has it together. Even when deep down we're just doing the best but falling apart. And I want to say this. Some people have don't show the emotions right out there. Sometimes it's the confusion or in the beginning it's the confusion and the the distancing yourself from your own feelings. It's that shock that hits you when and people start thinking you have it together and you actually really don't got anything going on. Like you're stuck in a moment, but people see a person so strong. People like during the funeral for my husband's funeral, people saw a very strong person, and all the time I was wondering what people are seeing that I can't see myself. Life changes. It's never the same again. Life changes. Everything around you changes. Your friends changes. Your everything changes. That is what I'm trying to say. Some most of the time is when people the moment you're thinking that somebody is has had it together because time has like I remember somebody telling me time heals all the wounds, and I'm like, today now I can comfortably say there is nothing like time heals all the wounds. These are words that people just say, the society has taught us to say just to to evade the inevitable, to evade the reality of death, what death comes with. People will not tell you your life will never be the same again. Well, it is true, and the fact is that your life will never be the same again. But people will evade the truth and just say what they think the society is agreeable to the society and what they feel are the best words to say. If you meet somebody who has been bereaved by a very close person, then they will tell you time does not heal any wound. It's only change, inevitable change that happens in your life, and that change can be towards the extreme negative or just negative. But the one thing for sure that happened and that has happened with me over time and in my life over time is change. Change is one of the things that grief comes with. I also want to reflect on the difficulty that comes with grief, the difficulty that comes with this roller coaster. You see, in a roller coaster, sometimes it goes high and then comes down. It goes high and then comes down. Most of the moment, people, you will walk around people, like I've lived with people thinking that I am all right. I'm all right today. We are having fun and we have a good time. We get together and hang out. But then maybe later in the evening, you see me just you ask me how did you get home, and I'm there telling you like I'm feeling so down from nowhere. And I think most people don't understand that there is breaking down that is associated with grief. You can be so good, doing so well at this moment, and the next moment you're so down, you're so done with everything. You don't even know where to start or where to end. And that is what grief comes with in reality. I could be here smiling all the same and very happy, but the next moment I'm frowning. I don't even know what is really making me sad. And when you try to make me explain that, I can't explain. That is what one of the things that I've gone through and something that I've come to notice. When you try to get me to explain what I'm going through, even myself, I can't explain. It's just pure sadness that cannot be explained. But most of the time, you find it hard to try to make somebody understand that this happens. So most of the time, I know my friends. I usually tell them this happens sometimes. This is normal, totally normal. This is something that just it will go away with time, but without fighting it, without forcing it, it just goes away. I want to talk about the grief attacks triggers. Um, um, the sadness comes in waves. You could be very well, and the next moment you're stricken out, and you really don't know, and you can't tell what has just happened to you. The other thing is that you can't anticipate what will happen next. So let me try to explain the grief attacks. Grief attacks come in sessions, they come slow, they come quick, they come often, they come not too often sometimes. So it's something that is not very predictable as to when it will hit and when you'll be down in the rock bottom like waves. You could be standing right now and suddenly something attacks, something just reminds you of some of your loss, and you're all lost all of a sudden. And people, most of the time, if you're around people just don't understand that. I think I have had to take breaks even from my friends, and I have had to even take breaks from my own daughters away from them and just go spend some moment away. Because if they saw me crying, then they would start crying, and then the situation will get worse, as it has happened before to me. So when these attacks come, I usually get pulled away from them for a moment. Can go and sit somewhere on the floor and just let myself cry out, let myself scream out, let myself experience those emotions at the moment. And that is how I've always coped with it. For my friends, the ones who are very close to me, they know I have had times that I've had to break down completely, shut down completely on them. and they have been very supportive. I must acknowledge that. And some of them understand what it is like to be in that situation, and they would just understand that just give her some minutes, she'll be fine. And that has really worked really well. Talking about the triggers, the grief triggers can range from a small item that was precious to the departed. It could be ranging from a vacation, a mention of a name of a vacation of a place that you've been before, a mention of certain diners or eateries, or just passing by something that just strikes. All of us, everywhere you go, there will always be something that reminds you of the person you lost, and those ones are the inevitable triggers. The other trigger I would mention would be like important dates like February 14th. That is the Valentine's Day. There is also Christmas. Like for us, when my husband was around, we used to spend Christmas just him and my daughter, the three of us. So we continue the tradition now. We spend. I don't go home on Christmas. Maybe I should change that in future. But I still spend Christmas with my daughters, my three daughters. We spend it together in memory of him. Then we do the exact things that we would have done if he was there. So that's how I cope with such a season. The other reminder could be your anniversary, your birthdays. Those ones are some of the triggers that we will have to encounter every time. And I want to insist, like, go through the whole process. Let your feelings flow. Let those attacks come when they come. Handle them as they are. The only difference is, are you going to let grief control you, or are you going to be in charge of your own life? Ask yourself that question. Find what makes you feel better in every situation. I know sometimes the waves come in so strong that you feel like you're drowning, you're crashing. But the question is, how will you maintain yourself afloat without crashing in the waves and without drowning? For starters, if it's a song that he used to listen to, there are songs that he really liked, especially. And what I do, over time, I have learned how to embrace those songs as well, and save, and actually tell my daughters if, and just tell my daughters indirectly, Baba and I loved that song, and we can sing about it. We can sing along. And I couldn't, like, before, I couldn't listen to a song he used to love. I used to just switch them off and very fast divert to something else, or entirely stop listening to the music. The other thing I want to reflect on is taking control. um let's us talk about how do we take control of this. um Most of the time, I have feared that when people buried my husband, people's lives goes on, other people's lives goes on. And the fact is, only the people close to him, or close to, yeah, only the people close to him feels and have this burden to carry for the rest of their lives. Sometimes the sadness comes in this phase that you look at it and you wonder, um you actually wonder, and start fearing that maybe people's lives have moved on, like as if his didn't matter, as if nothing happened, and that's why people are moving on with their lives. The fact is, most of the time, the people left stuck at the moment are the people you care about. The people who are very close to you are the people who are left stuck in the moment. Other people's lives will continue, time will keep moving, anything else will keep working, but the people who will be left stuck in the moment are the people who matter, the people you spent your life with. Those ones are the people who will fill that gap. Those ones are the people who will experience the loss. Those ones are the people who will know how much you matter to them. And I think one of the things that most of the widows and widowers and people who've had loss of something they held dear feel is the fact that that person's lives um, would not have mattered because entirely people forget. You find that most of the time we struggle with fear. You wonder whether I actually personally I asked myself whether he never mattered. I was in fear, but I know today that he mattered because people have also continued to show us gestures that we are not alone. We are not struggling alone, and we are not in this alone. People, friends of his, got us, and they have proved to us over and over that we are not alone in this. But I'm speaking for those of us who don't have any support system. That it's good for you to even remember, even if it's not you who has relative passed on. It's good to, or something close to you, it's good to be there for your friends. It's good to remind them that we know we acknowledge the fact that you went through loss. We acknowledge the fact that you're going through grief and you're going through this, and we have your back. um, there is also the fear of being alone for the rest of my life. There is also the fear of my children growing older alone without a father. Um, and I think that is one of the things that grief always reminds us. And I think the society forgets the fact that they are children of this world, orphans, people who are partially orphans. They need There's that need of a father figure in our lives. There's that need of companionship in our lives. This is something that we just go through, and this is which is totally normal. Remember, you lost something very close, something very precious, a person you needed to talk to, a person you who had you, a person who really got your back, a person you could tell anything and share anything with, and they are no longer here on earth. And you can't talk to them either on your dreams, and this really matters. And we always try we always struggle with that in our minds, asking ourselves, how will tomorrow be like? Who should I tell I'm going through this? Who should I call and tell I'm going through this and that? Will they understand? The other fear is that, will they understand? How do you take control of that? You take control of that by embracing the change, first of all. Appreciating the fact that you're not always going to have a person you can trust, but you can try to build a relationship out there and have somebody you talk to. Have somebody who you know will not judge you, because if these people you're trying to talk to don't have an ear to listen, because it will frustrate you. Because if they don't have an ear to listen, then you will be talking to yourself and you will feel the frustration even in their own responses. So I met this person, and for the first time in my life, somebody asked me, "Tell me more about your husband." And I was like, "Well, you want to know more about my husband?" And I remember I talked to him over and over for, I must have talked to him more than an hour, because I had really so much to share about. This was the first person who ever asked me to tell him about my husband deeply. He told me, "No, I have all the time. Just just sit there." We were having coffee, and he told me, like, sit there and just talk about your husband. So I'm giving you a challenge today. You know, somebody who has had loss, even of a cat or a pet, or a job, even a job. Like, ask somebody, tell me about your ideal job, or what did you love most about this job? Or then, because I remember him asking me, like, what did you love most about him? How would you have spent a day like today? Then so I told him how I would have spent the day like today, and fast forward, he eventually took me to a very similar place and told me, actually he didn't dine with me. He just told me, have your moment. I'm paying for it. Just have your moment. When you're done, just tell me you're done, and I'll make the payment and leave. So I had a very nice time, and we all need such friends in our lives. So I'm encouraging you to be such a friend in somebody's life. You wake up one day and ask somebody, how would you, I know you have gone through this, and I know you things are like this, so how would you want to live this day? Just take that challenge and just go to somebody, even if it's your mother who lost the husband, your father. Ask them, how would you, what is the one thing that you would have wanted daddy to do for you? What is the one thing that you would have wanted mommy to do for you? And allow them to experience that part of the journey, experience that moment as part of the healing. And that is really worthwhile. You can't, words can't help out. Just allow the person to experience that time, experience that moment, and allow him to reminisce and recall the things they used to love doing together, how they fit in at the moment, even in his absence. And that is what I call loving somebody beyond death, loving and living for someone beyond death, way much beyond death, that only your love for them is reflecting to the whole world and showing people that life is worth, and his the person who departed lives mattered, and he mattered and he'll continue mattering. The other way of taking control over grief is by moving through grief and not moving on. Then you can do this by being more forgiving to yourself, and by being more gentle to yourself. I think I struggled with the fact that I thought maybe there would have been something I would have done, like maybe told him not to go back to work so that he could not have gotten into an accident. But when I look at it now, I say people need to be more forgiving and being very gentle on themselves. Allow yourself to go through the whole process, not against the grief process, but embracing that this is happening to me, this is something new, this is going to live with me for a while, and not fighting it. And with that, over time, I know there are times you will feel like you don't even want to talk to anyone. There's a time you will feel you don't want to see anyone. There's a time you will feel like you're crazy, and you look at everybody and everybody will look at you like you're very crazy, and you're pretending. Don't expect people to understand. Be gentle on yourself. Don't try to explain yourself to people, because unless you are trying to express yourself to a person who has been through a very similar circumstance and you're sure of it, you cannot go around explaining yourself, because you won't be understood. So just be gentle and forgive yourself for whatever you're going through. Forgive yourself for crying out too loud. Forgive yourself for not accomplishing whatever you wanted to accomplish because grief took over. Forgive yourself for not being a perfect person, and forgive yourself for not being God, because you're not God. Take in whatever comes, take out whatever does not build you, even in friendships. If your friend is your friend and they can't understand what you're going through, forgive yourself that you are not able to keep that friendship. Forgive yourself that you had to make decisions that involved cutting off people, that involved you not tolerating something that really hurts you. Forgive yourself for making such decisions of cutting away or moving away from places that really hurt you or places that really bring you down. I listened to a TED Talks with Kelly, and she says that grief is love that has nowhere to go. Because in the first place, if you never loved somebody, if um, if you didn't love somebody, then you wouldn't grieve for them for sure. So you're grieving because you have love. You had love for them, and that love still lives in you. So I'm saying, she says, grief is love that has nowhere to go. And then she goes on and says, um, being in grief is a price we pay for being in love at some point. Because you'll not grieve over something that you didn't like. You'll not grieve over something that you didn't find loving. To wind up, I want to say thank you for keeping it here. Thank you for staying patient. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Please share this with your relatives, with your friends, with your people who are going through the similar circumstances, people who are interested in sharing their stories. I'm about sharing stories, and I want to enlighten people and help other people walk through this journey so that we can all walk together and realize that you're not alone. So for me today is to tell you that I got you. You're not alone. You'll never be alone. We are here with you. If just inbox me if you want to chat, I'm always available. You can talk to me anytime. You can actually, if you're looking for somebody to even share your journey with, I have connections to certain groups of widows and widowers. You can just log in for you to be helped with your grieving process. I believe in my email on the footnote down there. You will find it there, and you can inbox me if you're interested, or give me your WhatsApp number so that we can share and learn more about grief along the journey. Don't forget to subscribe. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for staying through to the end. And we love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. Subscribe and keep it here. Thank you.